The new generation of Singapore may not know how Singapore transformed from a fishing village to a modern country. SG50 Nation Building will share with you some key moments from November 21st, 1954, when the People's Action Party was formed to free Singapore from British colonial rule. Bold in vision and eloquent in speech, PAP drew crowds to its rallies. In 1959, the Singapore government focused on fighting corruption and poor housing.
At that time, schools and housing was so different.
Really? We are so blessed now.
The campaign was a huge success. PAP won 43 out of 51 seats on May 30th, 1959. In 1959, Singapore was freed from colonial rule and formed the first cabinet with Mr. Yong Nyuk Lin as Minister of Education, Mr. Ong Pang Boon as Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Goh Keng Swee as Minister of Finance, Dr. Toh Chin Chai as Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew as Prime Minister, Mr. Ong Eng Guan as Minister for National Development, Encik Ahmad bin Ibrahim as Minister of Health, Mr. S. Rajaratnam as Minister of Culture, and Mr. K. M. Byrne as Minister of Labour and Law. After being appointed as the Prime Minister, the first major challenge was to campaign for a merger with Malaysia. Mr. Lee believed that a merger would result in full independence from British rule and economic growth. On September 1st, 1962, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew held a vote on a merger with Malaysia. 70% of Singaporeans supported him. Singapore became part of Malaysia on September 16, 1963. To the surprise and disappointment of many, on August 9, 1965, Singapore was officially separated from Malaysia. The separation was a heavy blow to many Singaporeans. Mr. Lee Kuan Yew said, "For me, it was a moment of anguish. All my life, my whole adult life, I've believed in merger and unity of the two territories. We are connected by geography, economics, and ties of kinship. It broke everything we stood for." Luckily for all Singaporeans, Mr. Lee soon picked himself up and said, "Many things will go on just as usual. Everybody will have his place." Singapore faced many challenges after separation from Malaysia. Three of the main challenges were lack of schools, poor housing, and threats to national security. Singapore introduced conscription to allow Singaporeans to defend their homeland. All able-bodied males, upon reaching 18 years of age, are to join the Singapore Armed Forces, Singapore Police Force, or Singapore Fire Brigade, now known as Singapore Civil Defence Force.
Daddy, were you a soldier, mata, or firefighter?
Your dad was not a mata, not a policeman.
I guess Dad was a soldier.
At that time, most of us were recruited as soldiers.
The Singapore government formed the Housing and Development Board to build many apartments in a short time. As we didn't have much land, these apartments had to be stacked upon one another. That's how we have our HDB flats today. Singapore believes that a good education system will make Singaporeans useful. Singapore provided free education to citizens of all races. The Ministry of Education also lent free textbooks to families that could not afford them. Mr. Lee Kuan Yew also had a green vision for Singapore. On June 16, 1963, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew planted a mimpat tree at Ferris Circus. These strategic moves enhanced the quality of living and made Singapore famous for being a garden city.
Is that how we have the botanical garden and garden by the bay?
Yes.
After separation, besides poor housing, Singapore faced challenges like crime, corruption, and violence. With the effort of its people united as one, regardless of race, language, or religion, Singapore overcame the challenges and emerged as a first world country, well known for its safety, cleanliness, and lively economy. Singapore is always looking for ways for Singaporeans to improve. In 1979, we started the Speak Mandarin campaign, where parents were encouraged to speak more Mandarin and less dialect with their children. Mandarin, like Malay and Tamil, is not just a language, but also a way of teaching good values. Introduced in 2003, New Water is ultra-clean, high-grade reclaimed water that is clean and safe for drinking, a key component of our water supply strategy. It boosts our water supply resilience against weather extremities like dry spells and droughts. Many Singaporeans understand that Singapore had to adapt in order to continue growing and not stay stagnant. The Singapore Zoo was opened on June 27, 1973. This beautiful award-winning wildlife park, where animals can roam freely in their natural habitat, is now a world-class zoo and a premier tourist attraction, attracting about 1.6 million visitors each year. Singapore also welcomed the Formula One race since 2008, and in 2012, Gardens by the Bay, a 101-hectare park in central Singapore, was opened, transforming Singapore from a garden city to a city in a garden. The relentless pursuit for excellence made Singapore one of the world's top entertainment and tourism hubs today. Racial harmony is vital to multi-ethnic Singapore. With Interracial Harmony Day on July 21st, we embrace racial harmony through food too. Mr. Lee Kuan Yew was the world's longest-serving Prime Minister, who served Singapore as its first Prime Minister for 31 years. During his tenure, he also nurtured many capable leaders. In 1990, he finally passed the torch to then Deputy Prime Minister Goh Chok Tong. Lee Kuan Yew stepped down and became Senior Minister, followed by Minister Mentor. In 2004, Lee Kuan Yew's eldest son, Lee Hsien Loong, succeeded Goh Chok Tong to become Singapore's third Prime Minister. However, Lee Kuan Yew's contributions to Singapore did not stop. He did not rest even after Lee Hsien Loong became the Prime Minister of Singapore. He continued to serve as Singapore's first Minister Mentor with Yaacob Ibrahim, Lim Hui Hua, Tharman Shanmugaratnam, Lim Swee Say, Lee Hsien Loong, and Teo Chee Hean. He also continued to represent Singapore in exchanges with other world leaders. Lee Kuan Yew was the only person to have held the post of Minister Mentor in the entire world. The position was proof of his will to serve Singapore. A lifelong learner, Lee Kuan Yew was presented with an honorary degree of Doctor of Laws from the National University of Singapore on June 4, 2013. It was Lee Kuan Yew's 16th honorary degree, but his first from a Singapore university. Mr. Lee Kuan Yew was known as a prodigious student to his professors, a dedicated husband to his wife, a supporting mentor to his children, and a firm father to Singapore. As Singapore advances into the 21st century, PM Lee said Singapore is aiming to be a smart nation in 10 years. He believes we have what it takes to achieve this vision, the capabilities and courage to pull it all together and to make a quantum leap forward. SG50 is a good time for Singapore. It is like reaching the end of a 50-meter swim. We touch, we take a breath, and we swim on for a better future for Singapore.
Wow! Interesting story.
Interesting animated documentary.
Let's go for Hainanese chicken rice.
I want to eat mee siam.
I want roti prata.
I want burger.
Why do we need to wear the same color pair of shoe? Why is everyone still wearing the same color pair of shoes? I believe in harmony. Let's accept the differences. Let's embrace the differences. I hope we will continue to make an effort to live in harmony and respect for the next 50 years.